Hey, it's Movie Junkie John back again. And today we're going to be ranking the original Psycho franchise. Let's jump into it. Psycho was a legendary franchise, and it's been around forever since the early 60s when the first one came out. And they've had TV shows, they've had remakes of it. But for this video today, we're not going to be talking about the terribly abysmal 1998 remake. We're not going to be talking about Bates Motel from the 2010s, which was a good show. We're not even going to be talking about the made-for-TV Bates Motel movie from like 1990, I think. No. Today, we're just talking about the 4 original films in the Psycho franchise. And I thought it'd be fun to rank them. So coming in at number 4 is a movie that I just rewatched recently. And I'd seen it years ago. I remember bits and pieces of it, but this was kind of a new watch for me, honestly. And it's Psycho 3. So Psycho 3 is kind of a follow-up to Psycho 2. You've got Norman Bates, you've got Jeff Fahey in it, you've got a few other actors and actresses from Psycho 2. And the premise is basically right after Psycho 2. Norman's running the hotel. You've got this sleazy character that Jeff Fahey plays named Duke. He's coming to town. He's wanting to work at the hotel. You've got a nun that is on the run, and she's come to the Bates Motel and kind of has a thing for Norman. And I just thought this movie was a little bit too sleazy. Honestly, I felt like it was trying to be sleazy for the sake of being sleazy, and it just didn't have the effect that Psycho 1 or 2 had. I felt like they kind of fell short of the mark in that making another movie where Norman is just, spoiler, he's the killer. I felt it was unoriginal, right? It's an 80s movie. Is it watchable? Yes, but I don't think it's great. And I just feel like it's just another slasher, sleazy movie just for the sake of being that. And in a franchise with 4 movies like this, it really falls to the bottom for me. The third would be Psycho 4. Psycho 4 is another one that I just rewatched recently. And I'd seen it years ago. This one is basically a prequel. You have a radio show going on, and you have Norman Bates calling into this radio show as another person, and he's telling the story of his life, how he killed his mother, how he killed other victims. So you see the entire movie played as flashbacks, where you have Henry Thomas playing Norman Bates, and then you have Olivia Hussey playing Norma Bates. And it's kind of a prequel movie, right? You see a lot of flashbacks, and then the only present day stuff is Norman calling into this radio show. You also find out that Norman is married and his wife is pregnant and he's freaking out over it. But overall, I definitely think this was better than 3. Number 2, shockingly, is Psycho 1. I know, number 2. I'm putting Psycho 1 at number 2. What the hell? This is a classic. I love this movie. I think it's perfect, obviously. It's wonderful, and I think that, you know, it's basically the blueprint for what slashers would become. Right? Norman Bates, the whole mother Oedipus complex thing. He's the killer in the hotel, the shower scene, Hitchcock, all of it, right? It's a classic. I mean, what can you say about Psycho? We all know the plot of it. But yeah, I mean, it's a perfect film, and I think it's absolutely like a standard bearer, just like The Exorcist, just like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just like Halloween. It's interesting though, as many times as I've seen this movie, I just don't find it as rewatchable as my favorite in the list, which a lot of people may be shocked by this. So my favorite in the list is, without a doubt, Psycho 2. Psycho 2 is a remarkable movie. I know a lot of people put it over. Quentin Tarantino's put it over. A lot of critics like it. And the plot of Psycho 2 is basically Norman Bates is out of the asylum. He goes back to his home. He's trying to live a normal life. And you have the daughter of Marion Crane in the first movie in town trying to make Norman crazy, trying to prove that he's insane, trying to basically catch him, and hopefully he's going to be a killer again so she can lock him up. You have another girl in the movie that is kind of like a loner, and she's a waitress, and she ends up staying with Norman, and they kind of have like a fling. So the movie is really compelling because the whole film, you don't know if Norman is crazy. You don't know if he went back to his old ways. You don't know if he's normal. You don't know if he's being set up. It's very much like a thriller, almost like a giallo in ways. The way they use the music, the way they use the shots, the point of view of the killer, all of it is so brilliant in this movie. And the ending to this movie is just amazing. I don't want to spoil it, but I feel like the ending is what makes this movie so great. There's so many twists and turns to it, and I think even the ending you would not suspect it. I would never guess the ending in this movie the first time watching it, and I feel like it really adds a lot of layer to this franchise. I feel like Psycho 2 is basically what if you took the first one and you brought it up to the 1980s, but you added more layer and complexity to it. And I think so much of that is because Tom Holland wrote the script. Tom Holland, most known for Fright Night and Child's Play. So Psycho 2, it's perfect in my opinion, and I just find it even better than the first one because there's so many questions that you can be asked about sanity, recovery, mental illness, do people regress, do they change? There's so many things that you can pull out of this movie and look into, and I feel like Psycho 2 tackles those topics perfectly. I really have to put Psycho 2 as high as possible in this list. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next go round. Later.